Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes po.
All right. So pinagsama-sama ko dito yung ginawa natin dati.
Okay, sir.
Did we finish this? I just want to check.
Ano ba to?
Kasi ang tagal natin hindi nagkita. Sorry. And yung ano to, yung time value of money, yung una, itong future value, present value.
Ay, yes sir, yes sir. We did that.
Okay, so we also learned about yung NPV, yung net present value. So very quick review. You can compute for the future value, the present value, the annuity required, the rate, the NPER, using the functions of Excel. Napakadali talaga sa Excel. Ang importante lang, we understand what the cash flow is all about. Kaya it's instructive to always plot the timeline of our cash flow. So we had several examples last time. And then, dinefine natin si NPV as just the present value of the cash inflows netted. Ay, Teddy, sandali. Sino nga ba yung estudyante mo siya eh, na nasa na ngayon, Manila, tapos, nag-shift kasi sa finance.
Okay.
Tapos, what's the name? Nakalimutan ko. Anyway, he had so many good words about you. Ang galing-galing mo raw magturo. Ang galing, grabe.
Wow, talaga sir.
Oo. Yun ang sabi kasi tinanong ko, ay kilala mo si Miss Teddy? Ay sir, yes. Naku, ang galing-galing magturo nun. Sabi ko.
Wow, kinikilig naman ako.
Miss Teddy.
Oo nga. Umabot dun sa your reputation precedes you. Anyway. So sige.
Nakakilig.
Oo nga, no? Nakakatawa yung ganyan, natin, psychic income natin yun.
Yes, sir.
Yun ang naman.
I like that. Psychic income.
Sure. Kaya nga pag ganyan, talaga sinasabi ko dun sa para para nakaka-encourage ng kukunin ko yung pangalan tapos ko sa iyo Kasi hindi ko lang naalala yung pangalan, but siya, very positive talaga yung comments about you. Tapos unsolicited yun hindi ko tinanong, kamusta siya? Hindi. Out of the blue sinabi siya, ay si Sir, si Miss Teddy, ang galing-galing niya. Gusto ko siyang magturo. Ayun. Okay, so dito, I don't think na-answer na natin sa amortization, no?
Opo, yung amortization, wala pa, sir.
Wala pa, okay. So, ito, andi dito yung worksheet nito. The objective is to fill this up, tapos ito yung answer. So, ipakita ko na lang itong answer sheet.
Okay.
Alright? So, ito, 3 million daw yung uutangin, assuming na net na yan, net loan. Usually, ang maloloan lang natin will be a certain percentage of the loanable, of the amount. Kunyari, kung bahay yan. So, let me just check, no? So, yung worth ng house is 3.75 million. Ang maloloan lang natin is 80% of this, which is 3 million. Okay. I think ganun yung sa pag-ibig kasi dapat para may collateral, no? May equity yung manghihiram. And I just checked with pag-ibig, ito yung rates 6.5% for this amount 3 million. Ito yung rates nila. So let's assume that we're going to loan the house or whatever, kunyari for business, tapos payable in 5 years and monthly yung pagbayad. Okay. So, since monthly yung pagbayad, monthly yung amortization, dapat yung rates monthly din. Okay, so yung monthly rate natin will be just the annual rate divided by the number of periods. So we also have to compute for the annuity. Okay, so ko na lang to is equal to, I'll put negative here para maging positive siya. Yung rate natin should be monthly, okay, comma, and per natin should also be monthly. So that's 5 years times 12. Okay, that's 60 months. Comma, present value is, ito yung uutangin natin ngayon, 3 million. Okay, there's no future value and ignore the type kasi ang assumption natin dito, annuity ordinary. Yan. So this is what we got. So 58,698 per month ang amortization. Wow, no? Pag uutang ka lang ng 3 million na 58,000. Ang bigat. Kaya yung iba, kung 10 years to, so mas magaang-gaang yung amortization, monthly amortization,
Pero
34,000.
pag 30 years, yun lang.
Pag 30 years, papalitan na natin yan.
Yun yung max nila eh.
Oo, yan. So it's 18. Mas manageable, Pero 30 years, kailangan, kasi simula mo pa lang magtrabaho.
Yes.
Oo, tama. Kasi katulad sa akin, malapit na ako sa double calendar. So, hindi na ako papautangin ito. Okay, so balik natin sa 5 years na.
Yata, sir. Hanggang
Ano,
70.
no? Sorry?
I think hanggang 70 years old yata.
Oo.
Yung
Okay, so
hanggang 70, bayad mo yung
yes.
yung
So ito yung natin amortization table.
Okay.
Tanggalin ko na lang, tapos i-calculate natin. So month 0, wala pang payment yan kasi annuity ordinary to eh. Pagka utang natin ngayon, the first payment will be 1 month after. So at the end of month 0, ang principal natin, yung 3 million pa rin kasi wala pa tayong payment na ginagawa. Okay. Sa month 1, magbabayad na tayo ng 58,000. So itong 58,000 na to, that will be, okay, so 58,698.44. Yung partial niyan pupunta sa interest
and principal.
sa principal. Okay? Alright. So ganun yung kwento nito. So ang question, ano yung mapupunta sa principal, ano yung mapupunta sa interest, tapos ano yung mapupunta sa principal. Okay. Since ang babayaran natin, ang premium natin 58,000. Okay. Yung interest pala will be based on the month-end principal. So may 3 million tayo na utang, tapos we will have to get the interest of that based on monthly rate. Ito. Yan. So we fix our model such that pwede natin i-copy sa baba to. F12 will not be fixed kasi rolling yan, bababa din yan. Pero itong si B8, ito i-fix natin. F4, F4. Since ang pag-copy natin pababa, so we don't need to fix the column kasi pababa yung pag-copy natin, hindi nagbabago yung column position natin. So no need to fix the column, just fix the row. Yan. Okay, so that will be our first interest. And then the principal payment will be just the balance of the monthly amortization, which we're going to fix also, minus the interest. Okay? So sa first month payment, 16,000 papunta ng interest, 42 yung sa principal. Therefore, mababawasan na yung principal natin ng 42,000. Ito na yung month end natin. So we can now copy this kasi pag kinopy natin to, kunyari i-copy ko to dito. Okay. So yung interest natin ngayon based on the previous month-end principal na. And then this one, check natin. This will now be your monthly amortization minus the current interest. And this one will be yung month-end principal minus the principal payment. Okay? So that means tama yung formula natin. I'll go here, tapos double-click ko lang. Sorry. Tanggalin ko muna to. Double-click ko para automatic lahat na. And then sa dulo, 0 na yung balance natin.
Oh, ganun pala yun.
Okay? So ganun lang. Ha?
Galing, ang galing, sir. So, after nito, mag-compute ako ng pag-ibig loan ko.
Oo. Ayun, gamitin mo to. Tapos kunin mo sa pag-ibig, nag-loan ka na ba?
Yes, yung
so,
house namin ngayon eh.
Yeah. Pwede mong from the beginning, tapos makita mo kung asan ka na.
Yes. I will do that.
So, kunyari, magkano na yung total na nabayad nung nung first year sa interest. So, sa first year, ito total lang natin tong interest sa first year. No? Kunyari, interest, payment, year 1. Interest. Okay, so just to give a, yan. So magkano yung interest payment natin at year 1? Sum lang yan, ano?
Yes.
Sum ng lahat ng interest hanggang year, hanggang, yan. Ang total interest payment natin ng year 1, tapos ang principal naman, ito. Okay. Okay, then, pwedeng year 2, year 3. Kaso may shortcut dyan. Pakita ko rin yung shortcut, tapos we move on to the next. Ang shortcut dito is equal to cumulative interest payment. Yan, no? Cumulative interest payment. Returns the cumulative interest payment paid between 2 periods. Okay. Ang rate natin is, monthly rate of, yan, comma. Tapos NPER natin, NPER is 5 times 12, 60 periods, comma. Present value is, ilagay pala natin to negative para positive tayo. Present value is your 30 million, and comma. Ano yung start period natin?
Month 1.
1 up to 12. No? Kasi first year eh. So that means month 1 hanggang month 12. And then kailangan natin i-ano yung type end of the period. Okay? So it's the same.
Yeah. That's the shortcut formula.
Of course, mas convenient to kasi paano kung year 2 and 3. So hahanapin mo pa dito year 2 and 3, 13 up to, mahirap pa yun. No? Pag dito naman, ano lang siya, gagawin mo lang year 2 and 3, so that's 13 up to 36. No? Ganun lang siya. So dito naman yung principal, that's your cumulative. Copy ko nga yung ito. It's equal to cumulative principal payment naman. Yan. So ganun din, rate natin should be monthly, NPER should also be monthly, so that's 5 times 12, comma. PV, gawin ko negative to para positive yung cumulative interest payments. Okay? And then start period 1, 12, type should be 0, end of the year. Ay, sorry, mali. Mali ko dito. Yan. Okay? So pareho lang siya. So this is using cumulative functions by adding. Okay, so that's the amortization. Okay, ang mali ko yata, but ito to. Yan. Okay, cash ang tayo. Capital budgeting na.
Ayan.
Nasimulan na ba natin to?
Hindi pa po.
Bakit ako may answer dito? Kasi nga pala hindi may answer. Ano? Ayan, yan, sige. Alright, capital budgeting na tayo. Ang, yes?
Parang patingin nga nung sa bandang baba.
Baba.
Ay, hindi pa.
Sige.
Hindi pa,
Pero ito palagi ko na answer na natin.
Opo, yung una.
Okay, sige.
When is a project acceptable?
So when is a project acceptable? Kailangan i-point out natin sa mga students natin. Ang capital budgeting is as distinguished from OPEX and CAPEX. Ano? OPEX kasi, operating expenditure, this will only benefit one operating period. Let's say 1 year. Ang CAPEX should benefit more than one operating period. Kaya may mga expenditures na considered as OPEX. For example, let's say, mga usual expenses, utilities, rent, operating expenses, as the name suggests, let's say yung cost of sales. These are expenditures that will benefit that specific operating period. Ang CAPEX naman, on the other hand, requires our projects or investments that will benefit more than one operating period. Kaya nga, iba yung pag-budget ng OPEX, iba yung pag-budget ng CAPEX. Okay, in both instances, parehong cash flow ang ginagamit. So si CAPEX, it will involve more than 1 year usually. And then, ang tinitingnan natin dito, cash flows. Okay? Nakasulat ba dito yun? This should be cash flows to dapat. Ito to. Cash flows to, no? Cash inflows and cash outflows. These are not net income figures. Dapat, kung mayroon tayong projected na net income, i-convert natin siya into cash flows to be consistent with the principle in finance of the time value of money, that money has cost. Okay. So there are different ways in order to evaluating capital budgeting projects. The most common ones are NPV, net present value, IRR, MIRR, Profitability Index, Payback period, and discount payback period. Yun ang titingnan natin ngayon. So we started last time, sabi natin, ito yung mga cash flows nila. Okay, 1,000. Okay, so total cash flow inflows nito ni S&L are this. Sabi natin, mali ito. Hindi natin pwedeng i-add lang yan kasi magkakaibang time frame sila. And we cannot say that based on inflows, mas maganda si L kasi nga we can't add them. So what we did was to compute for the present values kasi yun ang pwede natin i-add. So we use this formula, yung PV natin, no, to be able to compute for the present values of each of the cash flows. And so we were able to add now yung net present value natin. Pwede natin isama sa pag-add si 1,000 kasi ano to, yung net present value na rin yan. Okay? So sinama lang natin to. Ito, legitimate na to, pwede na to. Ito hindi natin pwedeng i-add kasi they belong to different time frames. Ito, mga present value na to. So these are now the present value of your cash flows. Present value ng cash flows natin. Okay. Then, project S is acceptable because the net present value is greater than 0. Sabi natin, there's a shortcut also to get the net present value. We use the NPV function. However, ang caveat dito, si NPV function ni Excel, nagsisimula siya sa future. So, dapat sa year 1 siya. 1 year after. Kaya ito lang sinama natin sa NPV function natin. D12 to G12. Ito lang yon. And then, in-add back din natin yung initial investment natin na C12. So, pareho lang siya. Okay? And then we compared it with Project L, and it turns out that the net present value of Project L is bigger. Bigger. So, if these two projects are what we call mutually exclusive, kasi may mga projects na mutually exclusive. Ibig sabihin ng mutually exclusive, wale, choose one ka lang. Choose one lang. Kunyari, you're contemplating on buying a computer, tapos you're comparing between two brands, brand A and brand B, pero isa lang bibilin mo, then you just choose one and it's called mutually exclusive. If the two projects are mutually exclusive, then we said that we choose project L kasi mas mataas yung NPV niya. However, if they're independent, if these two projects are independent, ibig sabihin, the choice of one does not prevent the choice of the other. So, walang kinalaman yung project A sa project B. So, sabihin natin walang budgetary constraint, then you choose both kasi pareho silang positive NPV. Kasi ang cost si Project X S1,000, si Project L 1,000. Kunyari walang constraint sa budget. So choose both, no? But if let's say the budget is only pegged at 1.5, so isa lang pipiliin natin. Hindi natin pwedeng piliin yung pareho kasi lalampas na sa budget. Then we choose Project L, yung higher na NPV. Okay, so these are just summary questions. Can we just add the cash flows? Hindi pa pwede. Sabi natin, it will violate the time value of money principles. NPV is the equivalent value of all cash flows to the present time. What is the decision rule in using NPV? Dapat should be greater than zero. It should be positive. And then here, which project between S and L should be chosen? If they're mutually exclusive, then choose project L. Kasi nga sabi natin, the NPV of L is greater than that of S. If they're independent, then parehong piliin as long as they are within any budgetary constraint. Kasi kunyari ang budgetary constraint, as I mentioned a while ago, 1.2 lang or 1.5, then isa lang pwede natin piliin. Where does the NPV depend on? It depends on the cash flow, the timing of the cash flow, and the riskiness. Okay? And the riskiness is measured by your required return or your weighted average cost of capital. In this case, it's 10%. Okay? IRR naman. IRR, for IRR, we computed for IRR project S, and it's just highlight lahat ng cash flows, okay? Highlight lang natin. It's 14.49. Si project L naman 13.55. Okay? And then ito pinakita natin last time that the IRR is that rate of return where your net present value is zero. So for example, kunin natin NPV, this is your rate. We're using the IRR, and then this is your cash flow. Ito, simula sa year 1 plus yung year 0. Okay. And then you have an NPV equal to 0. So ito important concept that the internal rate of return is that rate of return where your net present value is 0. Now what happens when we have this according to project X, project S, according to IRR, project S is better. Yan natin dito. Based on IRR. Project S is preferred over project L. IRR of S is greater than IRR. Okay? So ito yung conclusion natin, ano? Paano yun? May conflict kasi. based on NPV, mas maganda si ano, this conflicts with NPV choice. Kasi sa NPV choice, si Project L ang choice natin. So, paano yun? How do we resolve this conflict? Now, this conflict is resolved by always choosing NPV, NPV, because NPV is the more theoretically sound approach. Si IRR kasi, ang assumption niya, no? Si IRR, ang assumption niya, you reinvest these cash flows at the IRR. Okay? Samantalang si NPV, you reinvest these cash flows at the weighted average cost of capital. Hence, hindi ko nasulat dito, ano? Thus, okay, lagyan natin, the concept of MIRR, which is your modified internal rate of return. In MIRR, the reinvestment rate is equal to your cost of capital. Sure. Okay, so let me illustrate this. No? Let's compute for the MIR of project S and also the MIR of project L. Okay, so we can now compute for the MIR of these two projects by using the MIRR function. MIRR. Merong MIRR function. Si Excel. Sabi dito, it returns the IRR for a series of periodic cash flows considering both the cost of investment, yung WACC, and the interest on the reinvestment of cash, reinvestment rate. So sa MIRR, kailangan natin ipasok pareho yan. So ang values natin will be for project S will be all our cash flows, yung original cash flows, comma, what's our in finance rate? Our finance rate is our, asan yan? Yung WACC natin, nasa taas pala, 10%. Ay wait, may nakalimutan ako sandali. Tapusin ko lang to. So that's our WACC, comma, tapos WACC pa rin. Nalagyan pala natin ng pangalan, WACC 1. Alright? And this one, Project L, MIRR then. Sorry. This is Project L. And then WACC 1. WACC 1 then. Okay, now take a look at the MIRR. So based on MIRR, sino ngayon mas maganda?
Project L.
Project L, no? Project L, yung modified. Now, MIRR will always be consistent with NPV. Okay, laging consistent yan. So pareho laging result ng MIRR at saka NPV. Unlike si IRR na sometimes it conflicts with NPV. But be that as it may, it's always NPV which is the chosen parameter. All right, I forgot to mention here that for IRR, what's our decision rule? Decision rule is accept project if IRR is greater than. So for example, in this case, IRR is 14.49. So, acceptable to kasi mas mataas siya kay WACC which is 10%. 10% to. So, ganun din dito, also acceptable. So, both projects are acceptable based on criteria natin na dapat mas mataas si IRR kaysa kay WACC. Okay. So, next, tingnan natin tong, unless there are questions, may questions ba kayo? Ladies? Wala naman? Okay.
Wala naman, sir.
Alright, ito naman payback at saka discounted payback. Si payback, bibilangin lang naman natin kung kailan marirecover yung cash flow, yung initial yung investment natin. Yung investment. Kasi dito, 1,000 yung investment, tapos 500 makukuha tong mga pera na to. Now we can easily compute for the cumulative cash flow. Ito yung formula yung tinuro ko sa inyo last time. Copy lang din natin yan. Mas makikita natin yung cumulative cash flow natin. Kunyari ito, 1,000. Nakakuha tayo ng 500 next year. So, ang hindi na lang natin nare-recover, 500. If next year maka 400 tayo, ang hindi na lang natin nare-recover, 100, etc. Okay, the payback period is, sabi natin, it's between year 2 and year 3. Kasi dito, negative pa tayo. Pagdating ng year 3, naging positive na tayo. So it's between year 2 and year 3. So we can approximate, kung gusto nating specific, ito yon. So how do we do this? Tulog lang ha. Okay. So sabi natin, it's between year 2 and year 3. So that's 2 plus a certain ratio. Ilan na lang yung kailangan natin na ma-recover? 100, no? Ilan pa yung cash flow na makukuha natin next year? 300. So we just need 100 out of 300. So ang gagawin ko, kasi naka-negative 2, gagawin ko ng positive. Para maging positive 100 siya. Divided by, so we only need 100 out of the total 300 na makukuha natin next year. The assumption here is that the cash flow is generated uniformly throughout the period. So if it's generated uniformly, then we can just get the proportion of what we need vis-a-vis what is expected the following year. Yeah, that's why it's 2.3. No? Clear yun, ladies? So pinorate lang natin. I had to put negative here kasi pag negative pa rin siya, divide by 300, then mababaw, magiging negative pa to. So that's 2 plus negative, mababawasan pa yung which is wrong. Okay ba yun?
Okay.
Ha?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, si discounted naman, si Project S. Si Project S, ganun din. Okay, we plot the time series and then get the cumulative cash flow. Dito, the cash flow is between 3 years and 4 years. So that's why, formula natin dito, it's 3 plus, again, negative 200 divided by, dali Nel, pwede makahingi ng turmeric? Ay, sorry, hindi ko na-mute. Humingi lang ako nag-ano yung throat ko. So 200 out of 675. So that gives us 3.3 years. Okay? Sa discounted naman, discounted payback, ang gagamitin natin, hindi yung cash flows. So between payback at saka discounted payback, mas acceptable si discounted payback. Kasi ina-add natin yung mga discounted cash flows natin. Diba ito kinuha na natin, actually andi dito na yan sa taas. Ito na yung mga present values natin. For Project S, here. Yan, 454. Kinuha na natin mga present values natin. Kinuha ko lang ulit dito. This one. Okay, so it's the same as payback period. The only difference is that what we add are your discounted, your present values. Okay, discounted, ibig sabihin ng present value. So, we get the cumulative using the discounted cash flows. So the discounted payback period will always be higher than your payback period. So dito, it's between year 2 and year 3. Dagan ko nga to. For Project S, the discounted payback period is, kasi nag-positive siya between year 2 and year 3. So it's 2 years plus the ratio negative nito divided by the total cash flow 225. So 215 divided by 225, that's 0.95. So we have 2.95. 2.95 years. Ganun din si Project L. Which will be, we got the present values again. Okay. Project L, getting the present values, ito, and then getting the cumulative. So it's dito between year 3 and year 4. So year 3 plus, yung remaining nito is 361 out of, mali ito dapat ito, out of the expected na 461. Okay, sorry about that. Check ko to. Ito tama. Binibase natin sa present value ng cash flows. Ito, year 3, tama na ito. Question dito, ladies? Question?
None po.
Sige. Okay, may isa pa na nakalimutan ko ipasok. Sama natin si Profitability. Isasend ko naman sa inyo to, no? Profitability Index. Okay. May ipa-flash lang ako na siguro i-share ko na lang din sa inyo to, no? Okay. Wait lang ha. Ito yung ginamit ko na wait. Isa pa ako Excel file. Isa-send ko rin sa ito, Ted. Send ko now para ma-share mo rin sa ano.
Okay po.
Siguro quickly. Can you see the screen now?
Profitability Index po.
Hindi. Nakikita niyo ba yung itong mga table na to with crossover WAC? Hindi.
No.
Hindi. Wait ha. Saan yan? Ito.
Yan, sir.
Yan. Okay. Ito, lecture ko to sa students ko kahapon. No? Okay. Capital budgeting din to. Okay. Mas ano nga lang kasi college siya. But let me share this with you kasi baka kayo you decide na lang kung pwede niyo magamit sa ano to sa class. I'm going to share this with you Ted now sa ano. Pareho lang naman yung concept. Ito pakita ko lang to no, yung Profitability Index. Send ko kaya muna Ted to ngayon ano?
Okay, sir.
Send ko sa iyo ngayon para ano.
Sir, balik
Yes.
lang ako dun sa sa payback. So,
Sige, okay.
basically, so yung decision rule dun, kung ano yung mas...
Okay. Ganito Dali, i-flash ko lang ulit. Ano tayo? Okay. Alright, let's go back to payback period. Ay. Excuse me, sandali lang Dali. Okay, sorry. Nilalanggam yung mesa ko. Okay. So, saan na tayo? Yung question ni Teddy, ano? Okay. If the, let's say, if the basis for the choice of the project is the payback, kung ganong mas mabilis ma-recover yung cash flow, then ang assumption, the choice will be based on the payback period. So dito, kung payback period, mas maganda si Project S. Kasi in 2.3 years, marirecover na yung payment, yung investment. Dito naman 3.3 years. Pero again, may weakness yung payback period kasi hindi niya kino-consider yung time value of money. So ang dapat gagamitan si discounted payback. So kung ang gusto ng management is how quickly can we recover the initial investment, then the choice should be the discounted payback. So dito lumalabas na si Project S ang mas maganda, no? Kasi mas mabilis ma-recover yung initial investment. Okay? But usually hindi ginagamit yung ganyan eh. But I've seen some in literature, may nakita akong ibang ganyan na ang ginamit yung discounted payback. So in this case, as yung question nga ni Teddy, anong basis natin if you're going to base it on discounted payback? Hindi maganda gamitin yung payback kasi it doesn't consider the time value of money. So we choose the payback, the discounted payback period kasi ginagamit niya yung time value of money. And ang option natin, ang choice natin will be S, no? Kasi si S has the shorter payback period. Did that answer your question, Ted?
Yes, sir. So, kumbaga, sir, pwede siyang gamitin as support.
Yes, oo.
Parang
Definitely. Oo.
kung gusto mong makita kung kailan
Yes.
yung
Correct.
payback.
Correct. Tama. Okay, so tapos i-share ko nga itong ano sa inyo para this is also a send ko siya Ted ngayon sa Messenger.
Okay po.
Ginamit ko to a few days ago yata sa mga college students. Pero kung kakayanin naman ng ano natin ng high school, why not, di ba? Attach a file. So dito ko kunin sa Ted, na-send ko na.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Paki-share mo na lang with with our companions.
Okay, sir.
Okay, may papakita na lang ako dyan.
Shared na po.
Share na?
Yes, sir.
Alright. So ito gagamitin ko ngayon kasi yung file natin, ano ba yung wait, check ko . Okay. So, babalik-balikan na lang natin to. So deeper appreciation, deeper discussion ng time value of money. Okay, so sige, i-share ko muna yung screen. Okay, can you see now the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, pareho din to ng diniscuss natin, no? This time, it's magkakaiba lang cash flow sila. Project Y, Project Z. Okay, same din yung methodology. So we first get the present value of the inflows, then present value of the outflows, and then sum them up to get the NPV. Okay. Alright. Pakita ko lang tong profitability index, no? Si profitability index, you're just getting the ratio of your present value of your cash inflows over cash outflows. Okay. So for this one, dito sa project Y and Z tayo dito. Okay, ito yung mga cash flows nila.
Mhm.
So just to review this, although hindi dito na yung answer, ano? So based on NPV, okay, mas maganda si Project Z kasi mas mataas yung NPV niya. So this is the summary. Si Project Y, 159 yung NPV. Si Project Z, 244. And dito sinabi ko rin, if these are mutually exclusive projects, then choose Z. However, if independent sila and no budgetary constraints, choose both. Okay, next is the profitability index. Si profitability index, ano lang yan, ratio ng present value of cash inflows divided by present value of cash outflows. Yun lang siya. Okay, so for project Y, ang present value ng cash inflows natin, 1359. Ito yun. Nung in-add natin lahat ng present values, 1359. Ang investment sa kanya is 12. Okay, outflow to 12. Ito yun, ito. Si Project Y, ang initial investment is 12. So pag kinuha natin yung ratio niyan, that's the present value of your inflows divided by the present value of your outflows. So 1.133. Ito naman, ang present value ng cash inflows natin is 2,2,044,000. And then the initial investment is 1.8. So negative negative nung 1.8 para the ratio is okay. So based on profitability index, which is just as I mentioned, the ratio of the present value of your cash inflows over the cash outflows, mas maganda si Project Z. No? Kasi ang ibig sabihin nito, for every 1 peso of cash invested, yung cash outflow natin, there is a corresponding 1.136 cash inflow. So yun lang siya. No? Ratio lang kasi ito. Ito naman, for every 1 peso of cash outflow, there's a corresponding 1.133 cash inflow. So mas mataas yung yung ratio ng ng inflow dito kaysa sa outflow. And we call it the profitability index. Okay. All right. So dito ganun din, no? MIRR diniscuss natin kanina. Okay. So the same thing here. Okay, dito this is the same what we did kanina, no? So let's just answer this. NPV rate at 12%. Tiksan natin to. Comma, values. Remember, pag NPV, hindi sinasama yung initial cash outflow. Copy natin to the right. IRR. Ba't wala? Zero? Zero ba to? Values. Sorry. And then MIRR values. comma, finance rate, fixed, comma, investment rate, fixed. Okay. So this is just to reinforce yung ano natin kanina, yung discussion. So for project A, ano ba yung natin? C2. C5, ay kulang to. Sorry, dapat kasama na yun. Okay. Right? So you have these two projects, A and B. Based on NPV, mas maganda si project A. Okay? Pareho yung ano nila, yung initial investment. Mas maganda si project A by virtue of NPV of 201.42 ito 193. Tapos mas mataas yung IRR niya. So dito walang conflict, no? No
Yes.
conflict between the two projects. So consistent NPV, IRR, and
MIR.
ito, consistent siya. Tapos ano nga ba yung ginagawa nito? Huwag natin kunin yung future value, IRR na lang. 13. Ba't nga ba parang mali itong problem na to? MIRR pa. MIRR. Okay. Mali yata yung problem ko dito. Kasi you use MIRR for tapos conflict pa, wala namang conflict. So mali itong problem na to. Okay, ito, na-discuss ko na ba sa inyo KGAR?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Parang na-discuss ko na, no? Anyway, the KGAR is just the rate of return na from a current cash flow. Pupunta tayo dito sa sa last cash flow. Okay, so by formula kasi, so this is our formula. Future value is equal to present value times our compounding rate, 1 plus r raised to the t. Now we would like to solve for r. So alam natin na FV over PV muna. Okay, transpose natin dito. 1 plus r raised to the t. Tapos, kasi ang gusto natin i-solve si r. So kailangan matanggal to si t. And that's by raising the whole thing to the 1 over t para makancel si t. Or that's FV over PV. Tapos erase natin to sa 1 over t. So is equal to 1 plus r to the t raised into the 1 over t. So magka-cancel to. Magka-cancel to yung t at saka 1 over t. So we now have FV over PV to the 1 over t. So mawawala na to. This cancels out, this one. Okay, is equal to 1 plus r. Therefore, r is equal to FV over PV raised to the 1 over t minus 1. Linipat lang natin si 1 sa kabila. Okay, so this is your KGAR, compounded annual growth rate. Okay, so if we do this here, So our KGAR is equal to future value, okay, divided by the present value. Tapos, raised to the 1 over t daw. Exponent 1 over. Ano yung t natin? T is the number of periods of compounding. So hindi 5 yun, ha?
4.
So it's compounding from 125 to 128. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 periods, compounding periods. So dapat 1 over 4 yan. Diyan marami nagkakamali sa mga estudyante. No? Ginagawa nila 1 over 5. Compounding periods yan. So and then may minus 1 pa. Yan. So our KGAR is 1.37%. No? So ito pinakita ko lang dito, yung proof. So nagsimula tayo sa 125, then we let it grow by 1.37%. So the previous amount multiplied by your KGAR. We gave this a name, KGAR, okay, and then copy down. So if we copy this down, kita natin, nagsimula sa 125, tapos ang ending niya, 132. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng KGAR. A compound annual growth rate. So from 125, nag-grow siya ng 1.37%, nag-grow ulit siya ng 1.37%, nag-grow ulit siya ng 1.37%, tapos naging 132 na siya. So we're not interested in the intermediate figures. Hindi natin kino-compare yun. Ang kino-compare lang natin yung first at saka last. Yan. Okay, so that's your KGAR. Okay, so another is unequal lives. Pakita ko na lang to. It's your choice na lang kung itutuloy o kung i-discuss ito sa mga students nyo. But this also is a very important aspect in capital budgeting. Kasi dito, ang tinitingnan natin, magkakaibang project, magkakaibang lives sila. So dito, you have Project A, 6 years yung life niya. Si Project B, 4 years. Si Project C, 5. Si Project D, 8. So, if we compute the NPV, okay. So, ang sulat ko na lang to, no? So, is equal to NPV. The rate is 12%. I-fix natin yan kasi for all yan, comma. Then, ano yung values? Values natin, again, hindi kasama si year 0. Isasama ko lahat, no? Para makakopy ko yung formula hanggang D. Kasi si D hanggang 8 eh. Anyway, kahit isama ko yan, 0 naman yan, kaya di-disregard ni Excel yan. And then, comma. Wala na, no? Values lang. Close natin, and then plus the initial investment of 92. Control Enter. Yan. And then copy to the right. Yan. Okay? So you have here NPVs na 60, 95. So based on NPV, mukhang mas maganda si D. Kaso hindi pa pwede natin gawin yon kasi magkakaibang lives sila, magkakaibang terms. So if you want to compare, for example, B and D, kung silang dalawa lang, dapat gagawin mo silang equal yung lives. So how do you do that? Si B kasi 4 years, si D 8 years. So it's as if you're doing project B 2 times, no? Parang one time si project B and another project B. So dito in-illustrate ko siya, no? So si project B dito nagsimula, ito yung year 0 hanggang year 4 niya. Tapos, another round of Project B. So, dito magsisimula yon hanggang dito. Yan. Bali, ito yung parang renound to natin si Project B. Yan. Okay? And then, we just net this. Ito pwede natin i-add kasi pareho naman siyang at year 4. In other words, patapos na si Project B at year 4, nagsimula na naman tayo ng panibagong Project B at year 4. So, since pareho yung time frame nila, pwede natin i-add sila. So, in-add ko lang to. And then, okay, kinuha ko yung NPV nitong cash flow na to. Yan, NPV of 12%, and then this is our cash flow plus the initial cash flow. So it turns out that Project B is better than Project D kasi kung parehong live sila, 8 years, ito yung cash flow niya. No? Ito yung equivalent cash flow niya. So mas mataas siya kay NPV. Kaya ang problema, 4 yung kino-compare natin. So dapat pare-parehong time frame sila. Hindi naman pwedeng si C na 5 years din. Hindi pwede. So hahanapin natin sa algebra, hahanapin natin yung LCD, yung least common denominator. Least common denominator ng 6, 4, 5 at saka 8. But we will not go there, no? Another way to do it is to annualize yung net present value natin. Kasi may NPV na tayo, how can we convert it to an annualized NPV? So an annualized NPV is, we first get the present value interest factor of an annuity. So how do we do that? Okay, ganito lang yan, ano? So kukunin natin yung present value interest factor of an annuity for year 6, year 4, year 5, and year 8. So this is how it goes. Take a look at this cash flow. Okay, so this is 6 years. No? Tapos, an annuity of 1. So, tig 1 peso for 6 years. Hanapin natin equivalent niya. What's the present value of an annuity of 6 years, annuity of 1 of 6 years at 12%? So, ganun din si 4. Annuity of 1 for 4 years. Ganun din si 5. Annuity of 1 for 5 years. Ganun din si 8. So we need to get the present value interest factor of an annuity of 1. Ito yan, no? Present value interest factor of an annuity of 1. So ang formula natin yan, okay, sige, natin. Kunikuha natin yung present value sa output, negative PV. Okay, ano yung rate natin? Our rate is 12%. If you fix ko to, kasi ikakopy natin to the right, comma. Okay, N per. Ano yung N per natin? So dito, 6, no? Dito, 4, dito, 5, dito, 8. Magkakaiba sila, pero gusto natin ng isang formula lang. So what I did was to use the count A. What's the count A function? The count A function counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So using count A, mangyayari niyan, we can just highlight this. Take note, I'm highlighting from 1, ha? Kasi bibilangin niya dito kung sino yung mga hindi empty. Okay? So for example, for this one, ano si count A dito? F9? Yan, 6. Although hinighlight natin yung 1 to 8, ang binilang lang niya yung 6 kasi 6 lang yung hindi empty. Let me go back, Control Z. Okay? Then, comma, PMT. Ano yung PMT natin dito? This is an annuity of 1. So, 1 siya.
Okay.
Okay, walang future value. Type ignore kasi annuity ordinary to. Close natin. Right. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, yung annuity of 1 for 6 years is equivalent to 4.11 now. Copy this to the right. Okay? Ito na yung present value interest factors of an annuity of 1 nila. And then what you do is divide. Divide natin si NPV with the present value interest factor of an annuity. So this is now your annualized NPV. Pwede na natin siya i-compare itong 4 na to. Kasi pareho ng annualized yung NPV natin. Okay, that's where we base our decision. So ang decision natin dyan is choose Project B. Bakit Project B? Kasi si Project B has the highest, not the highest NPV. Because Project D has the highest NPV. In fact, si Project B, third lang siya among the different choices basing on NPV. But then again, I said, hindi natin pwedeng i-base sa NPV kasi magkakaibang lives sila. Okay, so, question dito, ladies?
Answer.
Okay, so good. So, and then last, dalawa pa pala dito. Ito, ano naman to? Multiple IRRs. Ito, take a look at this cash flow. I-copy ko nga ito sandali para oops. Okay, I recreated this. No? Okay. What's so unique about this cash flow is that meron siyang outflow after the initial cash flow. So that outflow can be in between, it can be in the middle of the cash stream towards the end or at the end itself. Pag ganyan kasi, that's a candidate na magkakaroon ng more than one IRR, multiple IRRs. So if we first compute for the IRR, so ito lang yun, IRR is just the cash flow, no? You get a value equal to 3.9073. However, pag may cash flow na aside from the initial, malamang may ano yan, malamang may another cash flow. Okay, let's see. So values, dito natin gagamitin si guess. Okay, so first, let me guess, let's say, kunyari 5%. Arbitrary itong guess, no? Enter. So wala, pareho pa rin, no? 3.91 pa rin. So if I choose a guess that's less than your IRR, wala, hindi makukuha. Pareho pa rin yun. So medyo taasan natin. Kanina sa 5% hindi nakuha. So 10% kaya, yun pa rin, no? Okay? And gawin natin 20%, sige. Yun, meron na. Nakuha na natin isang IRR. Okay? So you have two IRRs here. Isa, 3.91, isa, 30.28. Now let's check kung talagang IRR yan. Remember, ang IRR is that rate of return where your NPV is equal to 0. So dito, pinoprove ko lang, no? So using the NPV function, so NPV ng IRR na 3.91, cash flow from year 1 plus yung cash flow at year 0, you get the NPV and it's zero siya, practically zero. Highlight decimal place na. Okay. So this is 0. So correct to. IRR talaga to. How about this? In IRR ko rin itong 30.28. And it turns out na 0 din siya. So parehong tama to. So dalawa talaga yung IRR natin. It's really 2. Isang 3.91, isang 30.28. Tapos we can use the data table to plot yung IRR natin. So ang ginawa ko dito, naglagay ako ng increments ng from 0% to 40%. Okay? Tapos siningit ko dito yung unang IRR, which is yan. Hindi ko siya linik dito kasi pag linik ko dito, kung magbago to, magbabago din dito. So tinype ko lang yung figure na yan, that's 3.0973. And also this one, ano ba to? Dagdagan natin to. 8367, 3.28, 8367. Dinagdagan ko lang para mas accurate. Ito naman, 733, para lang mas accurate to the 5 decimal places. Okay, so anong gusto natin gawin dito? Ipa-plot natin kay Excel yung NPV. Okay, the NPV is this one. Okay, NPV is computing for your net present value using yung IRR1. So I'm going to link this is equal to this one. I'm going to link it here. Yan. Tapos ang sasabihin natin, paki-fill up ni Excel tong NPVs na to based on papalitan niya tong IRR na to. Papalitan niya ng 0%, 2%, 3.91%. So kung ano man makuha niyang value dito, ano man makuha ang value dito sa NPV na to, ilalagay niya dito yan. Okay, I think we have done this before. So highlight natin to. Okay, then data, what if analysis, data table. Yan. So is it a row input cell? Hindi. Column input cell tayo. Ito. Yan. Ano ipapasok natin? Saan natin ipapasok kung nasa column na to? Papasok niya dito yan. Okay? So ang kwento nito, ito, ipapasok niya, papalitan niya to. Sorry. Itong mga to, ipapalit na dito. Gagawin niyang 0% to, 2%, 3.91%. Tapos, ang lalagay niya dito, kung ano man yung value na to. Ano ba to? It's this one. This one is linked to this one. So, NPV. Bibigyan sa ating NPV dito. Alright? So, that's it. Okay? There. Yan. Diba? Very quickly. Okay? Tapos tama nga, si 3.91, 0 yung NPV niya. 30.28, 0 din. And then we just plot the two. Okay? So, tanggalin ko lang muna to. Plot natin. So, highlight natin from 0%. Okay? Insert. Okay. We can use, pwede yung ganito or pwede yung walang Yan. So, ito na lang. Yung walang right? Let's give this a name is equal to natin multiple IRRs. Okay. Plus axis titles. So y-axis will be our NPV. X-axis will be equal to your WACC. Okay, we can see here that at 3.91%, ito yung 30.28, no? Ito yung 3.91%. Okay, we were able to show that their NPVs are 0. Okay, so that's a case of multiple IRRs. And last, ito, NPV profile. Ito medyo masalimuot ng konti, no? Okay. Kinapi ko lang yung mga projects natin. Ito parang data table din. Ang gagawin natin dito. So this is project Y. This is project Z. Okay. And then, ang current, ang WACC niya is 12.6%. No? 12.6%. Then, kinumpute lang si NPV. Okay, NPV is based dun sa formula natin ng NPV. So, kinumpute natin si NPV ni Project Y. And then, copy natin NPV ni Project Z. Kinuha din natin yung IRR sila. IRR lang nito. At saka IRR nito. And then si MIRR. Okay. So, ang ginawa natin dito, in-insert natin itong mga to. Yung IRR at saka MIRR. So, nag-create ako ng iba't ibang rates, discount rates. Tapos pinasok ko itong 15.4518. Sinama ko rin pala yung MIRR. 15.5067. 50, ito yan. 5067. Ito ba yan? Kailangan i-type, no? Okay, 51%. Okay, pati yung IRR, pinasok ko 18.23. at saka 17.39. Pinasok ko siya, syempre in-insert ko lang na chronological yung ano yung dating.
Aha.
Okay, and then nag-data table ulit tayo dito, no? So dito ang ginawa ko, okay, ulitin ko to ha. Although, take note, hindi na natin pwedeng matanggal tong delete. Okay, pwede. Alright, so ito yung different WACs, no? Tapos dito ilalagay ko si NPV ni Y. Dito ilalagay ko si NPV ni Z. Magda-data table ulit tayo dito para ilagay ni Excel dito yung mga different NPVs based on these different WACs.
Wow.
Highlight. Okay, hanggang 36% natin yun, no? Then, data. What if analysis. Data table. Again, yung input cell natin is column. Papapalitan natin dito. Yan. Kasi yung NPV natin lahat nakalink dito eh. So pag binago to, papalitan nito mga percent na to, mababago yung NPV. Tapos yung NPV na to nakalink dito, NPV nakalink dito. Kung ano yung nasa taas dito, ilalagay dito ni Excel yun. Okay? Okay? There. Yan. Yan yung mga N natin. Mga NPV. Tapos ang ginawa dito, plinat. No? Again, plinat lang to. So this one, plinat, insert plot. Okay. Ito yung siya.
Okay.
Ito yun. So,
Project Y and Project Z.
sorry. Gawin natin chart type. Gawin natin yung walang line, walang dots kasi nakakalito yung may dots. Yan. Yan. Okay? Ang tawag dito, NPV profile for Project Y and Project Z. This tells us kung anong rate of, ano yung discount rate na mas maganda si Y at saka anong discount rate mas maganda si Z. Kasi if you notice here, si Z yung orange, si Y yung blue. Notice that at this point, no, up to this point, from 0 up to this point, mas maganda si Project Z. Kasi mas mataas siya, mas mataas yung NPV niya kaysa kay Project Y. At this point, at this intersection, okay, at this intersection, indifferent tayo. Points of indifference. Bakit tayo indifferent? Pareho yung NPV niya at this point, at that intersection. And then from here up to this point, no, hanggang dito sa point na to, mas maganda si Project Y. And then beyond this point, beyond this, kung ano man to, no, reject na pareho kasi pareho ng negative yung NPV nila. No? So yun ang kailangan natin gawin dito sa NPV profile na to. Itong statement na to, ito yung answer na to eh. Okay. So, ang question dito, what's this crossover point na to? Yan, ano tong point na to? Okay, so gamitin natin si yung model natin nito. What do we know at this point? We know that at this point, at that point, our NPV is equal to 0. So ang gagawin natin dito sa model natin, ito, kunin natin difference nila. So yan, NPV ni Y versus Z. Ito. At 12.6%, ang difference sa NPV nila is negative 24,000, 84,000. Mas mataas si Project Z, no? Yung NPV niya. Ibig sabihin, mas maganda si Project Z. At 12.6%, dapat ang decision natin, si Project Z. Ang question, up to what point, up to what WACC, should we choose Project Z? Okay? So ano yung crossover point? Ang crossover point, magiging equal na sila. Tapos beyond that, magiging CY na. At that crossover point, we are indifferent. Ibig sabihin, kasi pareho yung NPV nila, and thus their difference is equal to 0, we are indifferent to both Project Y and Project Z. Ibig sabihin, kahit si Project Y ang piliin o si Project Z, it doesn't matter. Okay, so ang question, paano natin susolving yan? Gagamitin natin si data ulit. Data. Okay? Remember, guys, na gusto natin maging zero to. Papahanapin natin kay Excel, ano tong WACC dito? What is your WACC so that this becomes zero? Okay? So, we do that by data, what if analysis, goal seek ang gagamitin natin. Ito, goal seek. So, if you take a look at this, set cell. Ano daw isa-set natin? Gusto natin ma-set si D12. Okay? D12. Ito. To what value? To what value siya? Dapat zero siya. Kasi nga, yung NPV ni Y at saka ni NPV ni Z, dapat pareho lang. So that's why we have to get the difference. No? The difference between the two, dapat zero yung difference sila. So, zero. By changing what cell? Palitan nyo to. Palitan nyo to. Palitan to hanggang maging pareho na yung NPV nila, which means zero yung difference sila. So we solve that, okay. There. Okay, what's that? Ito. 5495.16, 5495.16, difference sila zero. So at around 16.32%, that's the crossover point. So below 16.32%, okay, ang choice natin si Project Z. So ang ginawa natin dito, gumawa ulit tayo ng data table, pero in-insert natin tong 16.32197. Okay? Yan. So, construct natin to with this 16.32. Okay. So, ang decision natin dito, okay. So, from 0% up to 16.32%, okay, or less than 16.32%, Project Z should be the choice. Kasi lagi mas mataas yung niya. Mas mataas yung yung NPV. At 16.32%, that's your crossover point. That's your indifference point. We are indifferent between Project Y and Project Z. Ibig sabihin, whether you choose Project Y or Project Z, walang problema. Okay. So, greater than 16.32% up to 18.23%. Yung 18.23%, that's your IRR for Project Y. No? Ito. That's where your NPV is equal to zero. So from greater than 16.32% up to 18.23%, this should be zero. Kaso yung rounding off, ang choice natin si Project Y. And then greater than 18.23%, reject both na. Okay, so yun ang conclusion natin. That's what we want from this NPV profile. Yung tatlong statements na yun. Okay, so dito, for WACC less than 16.32%, choose Project Z. That's your crossover point. For WACC equal to 16.32%, choose Project Z or Project Y. It doesn't matter. Kasi at this point, pareho yung net present value nila. That's our indifference point. And then lastly, for WACC between, For WACC between greater than 16.32% and less than 18.23%, we choose Y. So ito yung dito. No? Ito yan. From 16.32 to 18.32, mas mataas si Y dito. Dito zero siya, no? Pero okay pa rin yun kasi zero naman yung NPV. So actually okay yun as far as Y is concerned. Huwag lang siya negative. Okay? And dito mas mataas si Project Y kaysa kay Project Z. Okay. And then lastly, greater than 18.23%, wala na. Reject both. Kasi pareho na silang negative NPV. Okay? So that's how we make conclusions out of this NPV profile. It tells us of the sensitivity of the NPV of our project based on the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, clear yon, ladies?
Yes po, sir.
Hindi ko na alam kung ano, bahala kayo mag-decide kung if you feel that this should be, hindi ko inaano to sa senior high, no? Sa college ko na inaano to. I don't teach this senior high. So that might be too advanced a material for them. But if you so decide, pwede rin
Thank you
naman.
for sharing, sir.
Sure.
Really interesting.
Ano,
Sabi,
no?
naiisip ko tuloy while you're teaching this. Sabi ko, bakit ako hindi nag-finance nung undergrad ko? Yeah. Sobrang, wala. It's so interesting.
Oo nga, ano? Pag na-number crunching ka, no? Ang daming, numbers do tell a story, ano?
Yes.
Oo. Kaya, actually, ganun din yung mga reaction ng mga, kaya pag nagtuturo ako, Teddy, ng finance sa college, lalo na sa masters, talagang we really make use of the spreadsheet of Excel, kahit Excel, no? Kasi talaga ang daming insights ang makukuha mo sa kanya, no? Kaysa yung calculator ka lang, mahirap talaga, no? Mahirap yung calculator lang. Okay, so that's good kasi actually medyo nakalalim tayo, naka-deep dive tayo ng konti sa sa capital budgeting and time value of money. Okay, balik tayo dun sa balik tayo dun sa isang spreadsheet natin dito sa TVM natin. Okay. Capital budgeting case. Nagbigay ako ng simple lang na case. Okay? Okay. Usually dalawang cases pag capital budgeting, number one is a new investment. Number two is replacement problem. Okay, magkaiba to. Yung binigay ko example dito is a new investment. Sabihin nyo lang sa akin kung kailangan yung example ng replacement problem. Kasi mas mahirap ang replacement problem. Pero, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ano yung difference itong new investment sa replacement problem? Pag new investment, parang new equipment. Kunyari, wala pang computer yung company. No? Wala pang computer siya, bibili yung company ng bagong computer, wala pa sila nun. That's considered as new investment. Ano naman yung replacement? Si replacement, meron na silang computer, tapos papalitan nila. Okay? Yun ang difference. Mas mahirap yung computation ng with replacement kasi, okay. Dapat nilagay ko rin example to. No? Yung mga cash flows na na initial investment, tapos operating cash flows, sa terminal cash flow. Tatlong cash flows ang tinitingnan natin pag capital budgeting. No? Una, yung initial investment, 3 cash flows to consider in capital budgeting. Okay, 3 cash flows to consider. Initial investment, operating cash flows, and terminal cash flows. Okay, initial investment, madaling intindihin, no? Magkano yung investment na magkano yung pera ilalabas natin to acquire this machine, to purchase this land, to purchase this long-term asset. Yun ang initial investment. Tapos yung operating cash flow. Ano yung magiging cash flow natin once we start this project? So usually, ito, year 0 to. Ito, year 1 hanggang year, kunyari, depende dun sa life ng project. Kunyari, 5 years siya, hanggang year 5. Tapos ito, terminal cash flow. At the end of the project, ano yung cash flows na papasok? Okay. This is where replacement comes in, no? Pag replacement kasi, may existing ka na equipment, for example. So, papasok dito, yung replacement, papasok sa initial investment yan. Ano mangyayari? Kasi ibebenta mo yung old machine, no? Pag binenta mo yung old machine, meron makukuhang may cash flow ka dyan. Di ba? Pag initial investment kasi, wala ka namang ibebentang old equipment, kaya wala rin yun. Wala. No? Walang papasok na marginal cash flow coming from the old equipment. Tapos sa terminal cash flow din, magkakaroon ng difference. Kahit sa operating cash flow. Ang importante sa replacement is ang tinitingnan natin yung marginal cash flows. Okay. So ang example ko dito is just new investment, no? Kasi tell me na lang kung bigyan ko kayo ng example ng replacement, then padala ko na lang ulit, no? Ang binigay kong ano dito example is is a new investment. Okay? Medyo highly simplified to for senior high school students, no? Okay, so yung problem natin is ito, no? Meron daw bagong company si New Concepts. Okay, bibili siya ng computer with the software. Tapos ang cost ng hardware is 750,000. Ang cost naman ng software is 500,000. Tapos may installation cost na 20,000. Tapos straight line depreciation ang ginagamit ng company. Estimated life of the asset is 5 years with no salvage value. No? Ibig sabihin ng no salvage value, at the end of the life of the asset, walang matitirang book value na. Tapos it's expected to generate 500 revenues, pero this is expected to grow by 10% over the life of the asset. Okay. Operating cost niya is 40% of its revenues, excluding depreciation. An additional 50,000 cost is needed to maintain the equipment every year from year 2 up to year 5. Tapos si New Concept daw uses a 10% discount rate for this investment and the income tax rate is 30%. Okay, prepare a schedule showing the relevant cash flow for the project and should new scheme push through with a new investment. Okay. So this is a highly simplified for our high school students. Highly simplified yung ano natin dito. So I always tell my students to separate the givens. I think I mentioned this to you before.
Yes,
Mas
sir.
maganda naka-separate yung mga givens natin. Lagyan natin talaga siya ng cell. Tapos i-link na lang natin diyan yung sa model natin mismo. Ang rational is that pag nagbago yung kunyari nagbago yung figures na to, babaguhin lang natin to, automatic yung model natin magbabago na. That's a very good spreadsheet modeling practice. Kasi kung ilalagay natin, i-hard code natin yung mga figures dito, hahanapin mo isa-isa yan, dun papalitan mismo sa model. Unlike kung i-separate mo siya, okay, kunyari, ang revenue growth gawin natin 5%. Di palitan mo lang ng 5% to, so automatically, magbabago na yung model natin. So that's a good practice as far as spreadsheet modeling is concerned. Alright, so ito, actually, dalawang cash flows lang yung relevant sa atin. Wala tayong terminal cash flow. Kasi yung wala naman sinabi na yung old equipment at the end of the project, pwede siyang ibenta, no? Pero pwede natin lagyan 'yon na yung equipment, for example, mabebenta pa at sige, lagyan natin. Kunyari, selling price Lagyan natin ang given, selling price, equipment at year 5. Sabihin natin mabebenta pa natin at, let's say, 50,000. Okay, so there's an additional given here. Okay. Hindi ko nalagay dito yan. No salvage value, pero New Concept expects to sell equipment Linagyan ko siya ng ano ng selling price at the end. Okay, yan. So mababago yung ano natin. Medyo mababago to. Ayusin ko na lang ito. Okay, so let's start. So sabi ko, tatlong cash flows yung kailangan natin tingnan. First is your initial investment. Second is your operating cash flow. And third, which we didn't include here, sasali ko siya. Insert tayo dito. Insert. Terminal cash flow. It should be here. Okay. Yan. I-copy ko lang to dito. So, ilagay ko dito. Ay. Ito pala. So, kung sinulat siya. Ito. Ito. So, C. Sulat ko dito sa case. Okay. Okay. So, this is a typical capital budgeting problem na tatlong cash flows dapat yung tinitingnan. Initial investment, operating cash flow, terminal cash flow, tapos ipagsasama-sama natin yan. Okay, once na pagsama-sama natin yan, it will be reduced to a typical NPV IRR problem. Okay? So, yung tinignan natin kanina dati, ito lang yon. Ito lang. Ito yung binigay sa atin. Now, of course, how did we derive that? Ito yon. Ito. Okay, this is now how you construct your cash flows. Okay, so initially, ang initial investment daw, yan. New equipment. Okay, so linig ko siya dyan, linig ko. Okay, software. And then yung installation cost, any cost that is required in order to put the machine or equipment to use is capitalizable. Kunyari, installation cost. Hindi natin gagawin installation expense yan. We're not going to put it as part of your operating cost. Capitalizable yan, kaya sinama natin dito. Kasi this cost is needed in order to put the machine to use. Without the installation cost, hindi gagana yung machine. Okay, so the total initial investment is 1,270. Yan. Okay, by the way, software installation cost. Revenue daw, beginning first year is 700,000. It will grow by 10% every year. Operating cost, 40%. Maintenance cost, 50,000. Depreciation is, saan galing yung depreciation rate at 20%? It's 5 years kasi, so it's equal to 1 over 5. Okay. That's 1 divided by 5. Ibig sabihin, each year, nag-share dun sa expense ng depreciation. So, tigta 20% yung bawat taon. Kasi 5 years yung depreciation rate natin. Discount rate is at 10%, tax rate is 30%. Okay. So, ganito lagi yung ng cash flow natin. Simula tayo sa initial investment. So, i-identify natin kung ano yung mga cash flow sa initial investment natin. So, 750 software at installation, total 1,270. So, that's now your initial investment. Okay? Tapos, ang sabi, yung revenues daw, beginning with year 1, 700,000, and it's expected to grow by 10%. So, itong 700,000, okay, nakalink din dito sa mga guidance natin yan. Tapos, ito, it will grow by 10%. So, yung previous na 700,000 times 1 plus the growth rate. So, again, nakalink dito. So, pag binago ko itong growth rate na to, magbabago din yung model natin. So, kinapi ko lang to. Kinapi ko siya. Okay, so copied to the right lahat yan. Okay, so naka-peg tayo dun sa 10%. And so this is your projected revenues for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Okay. So that's your revenues. Then your operating cost. Ang operating cost daw, ang sabi, it's 60%, sabi ito, 60% of your revenues. So this one will be 60% times your 60% E6 Phoenix ko to times your revenue, kung ano man yung revenue andi dito on the same year. Tapos kinapi lang natin to the right, okay, up to here. So that's 40% times your revenue. So yan yung operating cost natin. Yung maintenance cost will start at the end of year 1 kasi bago pa lang dito. So sa year 2 may maintenance cost na siya 50,000 daw. So again, nakalink lang yan. Copyright, then to the right. Alright, then depreciation. Since equipment yan, since operating cost natin, sabi, that's excluding depreciation, sabi sa problem. Sabi ito, depreciation, this operating cost of 40% of its revenues excluding depreciation. So hindi pa natin nababawas sa, hindi pa natin nadadagdag sa operating cost natin sa depreciation. So how do we compute for that? Okay, so ito yung cost ng asset, 1,270. I-depreciate sa natin ng 20% per year. Okay, so yung bawat year maghahati-hati sa 1,270. Okay, so I just copy this formula. Depreciation. Pareho-pareho sila kasi straight line. Pag straight line kasi, ano yung it's uniform all throughout. In fact, pag inad mo to,
It'll be the initial.
oo, pareho lang yan dun sa initial investment. Yan, 1,270. Okay, ang pwede pang mangyari, pwede may salvage value. So pag may salvage value, ima-minus lang natin dito sa initial cost to get your depreciation. Okay, so far, tatlo lang naman yung depreciation na sinabi dito. I could have added, of course, no? Siguro may salaries, may utilities, unexpected nila. But just to simplify, but of course, we can instead of operating cost, we can say kung ano yung mga forecasted na expenses for the year. We can do that para mas realistic. Ito pinagsama ko lang kasi ang objective ko lang dito, yung concept mismo. Okay, so makukompute natin si total operating cost. Total operating cost is simply the sum of these three cost components natin. So in-highlight, kinapi lang natin yan. Okay? Alright, so nakompute natin si total operating cost. Therefore, makukompute natin si NIBT, that's net income before tax. Okay? Wala namang interest na sinabi sa atin. No? Kung may interest, dapat after total operating cost, pwede natin i-minus yung interest. Dito, net income before tax. So, sinubtract lang natin sa revenues minus total operating cost. Yan. Copy to the right. And then, after net income before tax, we less tax. So, what's your tax? Your tax is whatever your net income before tax is multiplied by your tax rate at 30%, and then copy to the right. So, we can now compute for our net income after tax. Net income after tax is simply net income before tax minus your tax. So that's your net income after tax. Okay, net income after tax, hindi natin ginagamit yan. Hindi natin ginagamit yan dito sa pag-compute ng net present value kasi net income after tax is not your cash flow. So we have to convert this to cash flow. Kailangan idagdag natin, we have to add our non-cash expenses. Okay? Dito sa income statement natin, iisa lang yung non-cash expense natin. Yung non-cash expense natin is depreciation. So we have to add it back in order to convert it to net operating cash flows natin. Alright? So ito na yung cash flows natin. Yan. Ito na yung gagamitin natin. Ito, this is what we're going to use. In blue, ano ko lang siya. This is what we're going to use. These are now your cash flows, no? Okay, last, terminal cash flow. Okay, So, dito natin ilagay, selling price niya. What's the selling price?
50,000.
Okay. Pwede tayo maglagay na lang ng, okay, kasi kung dito, okay, actually, mas maganda kung, lagyan natin dito, maglalagay ako dito, Schedule A. Okay. Ito yung usually na ginagamit, mas maganda para maayos yung ano natin. Tapos lagyan natin dito, C, Schedule A. Tapping ko natin dito. Control C. Insert lang dito. Maglalagay ako dito ng Schedule A. Okay, so si Schedule A daw, yun yung computation natin for dito natin ilagay yung, yung computation natin. Kalimutan ko ito kapon. Okay, so ito tatanggalin na natin ito. Clear natin. Yan. Time 0 to. Time 0, time 1, time 2, time 3, time 4. So, mamaya i-update natin ito kasi masyadong mataas. Ay, bali na. Ganito na lang. Mababawi yung mga formulas. Ganito na lang muna. Okay, so terminal cash flow. Lagyan natin dito kasi may computation to. C, schedule. Lagyan natin B na lang. Yung iba, yung operating cash flow, ginagawa din C, schedule B. Tapos ipapakita dito yung computation. Ang ilalagay lang dito yung final. Dito tayo. About may C to dapat schedule A lang. Ito yung schedule A natin. Tapos schedule B natin dito. So C. Okay. Ano yung terminal cash flow natin? Yung terminal cash flow natin, yung cash flow na, yan at the end of the life of the project. Okay, magkano natin ibebenta? Sabi, ibebenta daw natin at 50,000. Yan ang benta natin, ano? Okay, ang question, magkano yung book value niya? At the end of the life of the asset, ano yung book value niya?
0.
Is equal to yung initial investment, di ba? Times, ilang years na yan?
5.
5 na. So that means ano na siya? So that's, initial cost minus, ilan na yung depreciation niya? Times already, that's 5 years out of 5. Diba? In other words, fully depreciated na siya.
Mm-hmm.
Yan. Fully depreciated na siya. So, we have a gain on sale. Sabihin, magkano yung gain natin?
50.
50. Kasi yung book value niya, ano na binenta natin siya at 50, tapos ang book value niya is already fully depreciated na siya. So, nag-gain tayo ng 50. Okay? So, itong 50 na to, may tax yan. Tax on gain of sale. So, magkano yung tax natin dito? is equal to 50, yung gain natin, times 30%. Okay? So, net cash flow after tax. So, magkano lang cash flow natin?
34.
Ha? Binenta natin at 50, magta-tax tayo ng 15, therefore, it should be 50 minus 15,000. Oops, sorry. It's equal to 50 less 15,000, so it's 35,000. Right? Kuha, binenta natin at 50, pero hindi lahat yan mapupunta sa atin. So, kailangan natin computein yung tax. Yung tax na ibabayad, 15,000. Therefore, ang net cash flow natin is 35,000. So, let me put this here. Is equal to this one. Yan. Okay?
Okay.
Clear tayo so far?
Yes, sir.
Yan. So, andito yung 3 cash flows natin, no? Si initial investment. Gawin ko lang dito, ibaba ko na lang ito dito. Para mukhang... So, initial investment natin, operating cash flow, ito yon, at saka terminal cash flow ito. Okay, therefore, ang ano natin, ang total natin, ito, should be our total cash flows. Total cash flows natin will be, this is equal to this one. Okay. Then, ito. Tapos itong huli.
Yung additional.
Oo. This plus this. Yan. And take note, since ito, negative to, okay, ito positive to, di ba? Yung terminal cash flow, positive to. So we will add this to net operating cash flow. Positive to kasi mas mataas yung benta natin kaysa sa tax. So this is positive. Kaya i-add natin itong dalawa. Okay, ito, let me convert this into negative para, okay, yan. Oops. Okay, so ito na yung ano natin. Ito na yung cash flow na yung pinag-solve natin kanina, no? Yung given the cash flow.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Ano ngayon yung NPV? Ano ngayon yung ano? Ano ba't unacceptable? Okay. Okay. Check lang natin. No? So, ito na yung cash flow natin. Ito na yung relevant cash flow natin. Dito na tayo magbe-base kung acceptable ba yung project or not. No? So, dito nag-compute lang ako ng cumulative cash flow para ma-compute lang natin yung payback at saka discounted payback. Present values, ginamit natin. Ano yung R natin? That's 10% discount rate. Okay, and then the cumulative cash flow, ito yung diniscuss natin kanina. O nga, bakit kaya? Negative yung NPV. Dinagdagan ko ba yung ano ko? Parang 1270. Tama naman ito, initial investment. Tama naman yung revenues. What's this? Less tax. Ay, itong depreciation. Kaya pala eh. Sorry. Nawala yung depreciation dito. Uy, nawala yung depreciation dito. Ano yung depreciation? Ano kasi gumalaw yung ano, sorry ha. This one, ay sorry. Kaya pala sabi ko ba't nagbago? Dinagdagan pa nga natin ng cash flow. Times, yun nga, ingat lang sa pag ginagalaw-galaw. Ano? Times your depreciation rate of 20%. Naka-fix, this should It should fix the problem. Yan. So
Yeah.
positive. So kung ano yung ginawa natin kanina, ito na yun. NPV. NPV, either sinam lang yung present values niya, or gamitin ko rin NPV function is equal to NPV. Okay, rate is okay. Ang maganda pa, pag sineparate natin, pwede natin bigyan ng mga pangalan to. Para mas madali siyang makuha. Values, this one, comma, plus, okay. So we have the same. So based on NPV, project is acceptable. IRR, paano si IRR? IRR, so mali ito. IRR dapat mali yung kinuha kong cash flow. Dapat IRR ng original cash flow. Right, 17. So walang conflict, no? Sorry. So wala siyang conflict kasi acceptable because greater than WACC, which is 10%. Mali na pick up ko na values. All right. Profitability Index, siyempre pag positive yung NPV, greater than 1 din yan. So ang Profitability Index, by the way, acceptable siya kung greater than 1. Hindi siya acceptable kung less than 1. Magiging less than 1 yan kung present value ng cash outflows mas malaki kaysa present value ng cash inflows. Then si payback period, ganito lang din. Ito yung gagamitin natin kay payback. So magbabago yung cash flow natin from negative to positive after year 3. Then i-ratio out lang natin itong 138 dun sa 432. So based on payback, 3.32 years, discounted payback, which is more the correct way. After magbabago kasi siya after 4 years. So year 4 plus the ratio of the required na cash flow pa divided by the expected present value ng cash flows. Yan. Alright, yan ang medyo complete example ng capital budgeting, no? So since ang assumption ko dun sa senior high school nyo, usually hindi ko naman tinuturo yung replacement sa senior high kasi that's parang masyado ng beyond them. Yung iba nga hindi nga natuturo yung replacement sa college. But I can give you an example if you want. Isasend ko na lang yung example ng may replacement. Kasi pag may replacement, ang mangyayari niyan, ang i-compare natin yung marginal savings. No? Example, paano yung operating cost kung ginagamit pa natin yung old equipment versus the new equipment. So bali, ang titingnan natin yung mga savings. Kunyari, ngayong old equipment, ang operating cost natin is, let's say, 200,000. Pag nagbago na yung equipment natin, operating cost natin, magiging 150,000 na lang. So ang kukunin natin doon yung marginal, yung 200,000 compared to 150,000. So ang papasok dito will be 50,000, yung net savings because of the new equipment. Okay? So ang mangyayari, comparison ng new at saka ng old, tapos yung savings na mag-generate because of the new equipment. So ganun yung analysis, no? Ang papasok sa mga cash flows natin will be the marginal cash flow. Yung savings na makukuha because of replacing the equipment. So para magdadalawa ka, ito yung ano natin, ito yung cost natin pag old equipment, ito pag new, anong difference nila? So usually naman kaya magkakaroon ng bagong equipment kasi nagkakaroon ng mas efficient siya, mas bago siya, mas let's say mas marami siyang output, etc. So nagkakaroon ng increase ng revenues, tapos nagkakaroon din ng cost savings. Yun ang nangyayari doon. So that's what happens with replacement. Okay. Any questions, ladies?
None, sir.
None? Okay.
So sir,
Punta-
parang itong example mo na to ng capital budget case, dito na yung parang in-apply natin everything, no?
Yes, ito na yon, no? So kung magpapaano ka, Teddy, kunyari ng project, ito na yung papagawin mo.
Yeah,
Kung
kasi
mag-i-invest sila, kailangan i-identify nila magkano yung cost ng investment na yan. And gawin mo, dapat siya capital budget. It should be a long-term, kunyari 3 years to 5 years. Kasi ang gagawin niya dyan, ano yung equipment na yon or ano yung investment na yon. It has to be a capital expenditure and not an operating expenditure.
okay.
Kunyari, ang operating expenditure, yung sinabi ko kanina, kunyari, salaries lang, which will only benefit the current operating period. Okay, so yun ang kailangan sa project. Kaya ito, this is very helpful, no? Itong Schedule A, kailangan ipa-identify nila ano ba yung mga cost na kailangan for that project. Kasama yung installation kung it's an equipment like that. Tapos pwede rin yung operating cash flow mo, pwede rin nakaschedule din yan. So ang mag-a-appear lang dito actually sa ano na to, ito lang yung total na to. So naka-schedule bawat isa. Ito pwede mong gawing schedule dito, no? May sarili siyang computation para naka-separate lang na ano. Para maayos, no? And then total cash flow will just be the accumulation of all of this. So ito na yung i-base natin. Ito na yung pagdidibatihan kung acceptable ba yung project na yan or hindi.
Yes, okay.
Okay? Yun.
Sir.
Yes? Questions?
None po.
Okay, sige. So yung last natin is itong weighted average cost of capital. Although, hindi na naman talaga inaano to sa ano, no? Hindi talaga dinidiscuss na sa senior high. But I just included this. Okay, kasi sa capital budgeting kunyari, ginagamit natin yung weighted average cost of capital. Ang tanong, paano na-compute yun? Paano na-compute si weighted average cost of capital? And then may notes ako dito. Okay. So in a nutshell, ang WACC, just right. In a nutshell, WACC is to compute for the WACC of a company, it's equal to summation ng sum up lang natin ng yung mga individual financing cost, wiki. So, for example, kung may debt si company, weight 1, kunyari, weight ng debt times cost ng debt, tapos ang debt laging lagi siyang net of tax plus kunyari weight of preferred stock times cost of preferred stock plus weight of common stock times cost of common stock. Okay, this is the formula to compute for your weighted average cost of capital. Tapos what I did here was, okay, so ito yung mga notes natin. Masyado nakadikit dito. Okay, so ito yung concept na to, no? The cost of capital or the WACC acts as a link between the firm's long-term investment decision and the wealth of the owners as determined by investors in the marketplace. It is the magic number, okay, that's used to decide whether a proposed investment will increase or decrease a firm's stock price. Okay. So formally, the cost of capital is the rate of return that the firm must earn on the projects in which it invests in to maintain the market value of its stock. Okay, so kaya ito yung ginagamit natin sa capital budgeting kasi ito yung average na cost of capital, which means it's the average cost by which the company gets or is able to get funding or financing. So what's the use of investing in a project whose return is only 10% when it takes the company 13% to fund their projects? Doesn't make any sense, diba? So the illustration there is here. So sabi natin si CAPEX, ano yan? It's investing in your fixed assets. Okay, yung mga current assets natin, it's funded usually by current liabilities. Si fixed assets, funded yan by long-term financing, either long-term debt and equity. Okay? So may mga example lang tayo dito na importante yung weighted average cost of capital ang gamitin. Kasi for example, bakit daw kailangan yung WACC? Kunyari may investment tayo na 100,000, ang life ng project 20 years, ang IRR niya 7%. Tapos ang ginamit lang niya yung cost of debt na 6%. Okay, so ang tendency nito sasabihin, ay, okay to kasi yung IRR 7%. Tapos ang cost of debt, yung ginamit lang sa pag-finance ng project is 6%. We don't use kunyari ng hiram-man, hindi ginagamit yung cost ng paghihiram ng pera. Ang ginagamit talaga yung average. Okay? Kasi hindi lang yung debt pati equity dapat isasama. No? Kaya for example here, dito, we accept the project kasi binase lang natin dun sa cost of financing. Okay? Dito naman, so dapat to least cost of source financing. So dapat mali yata itong example na to. Let's assume this is your weighted average cost of capital. Okay, this is your WACC, no? So dapat hindi natin tatanggapin yung project. Dito tinanggap natin kasi tiningnan lang natin yung cost of debt. Dito pala tiningnan lang natin cost of equity. Dito hindi natin tatanggapin kasi cost of equity is 14%, IRR is 12%. Mas konti yung IRR kaysa cost of equity. Dito naman mas okay, tatanggapin natin kasi IRR is greater than cost of debt. Kaso parehong mali. Kasi dapat kukunin natin hindi lang yung cost of debt, hindi lang yung cost of equity, dapat pareho. Dapat ang kukunin natin yung weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so for any project, ito yung ginagamit. Okay, so ang ano lang naman dyan, ang importante, ito, after tax cost of debt, tapos ito, okay, ito yung cost of preferred stock, and then cost of equity. Okay, so isa-isayin natin siya, tapos kukunin natin yung weighted average. Mas maganda kung may example tayo, no? So, ito yung example natin. Okay, so here we're looking at the examples one by one. Okay, so ito may ano tayo, may given, gawin natin itong para karen 30%. 30% yung tax rate. May available ba daw na retained earnings na 200,000? So may long-term debt. Ang bonds is a long-term debt. Na magmamature in 10 years, yung coupon rate ng bond na to is 9%, frequency is 2, ibig sabihin semi-annual, face value is 1,000. Ang price niya, current price niya is 945. And then okay, kaya ito, kaya actually hindi natin tinuturo to sa senior high. Pero iano ko na rin kasi may mga concepts dito na medyo baka beyond ng understanding ng senior high school students. Kahit nga sa college medyo nahihirapan sila dito. Pero still, okay, just to hammer on the concept ng weighted average cost of capital. Yield to maturity, ito kinompute to. That's the rate of the bond. Okay, explain ko to. And then from the yield to maturity, mako-compute natin yung after-tax cost of debt. Okay, ganito yan, no? Ganito yung bonds na to. So meron tayong bond. Okay, ibig sabihin, kasi nangutang tayo nito, no? Nangutang tayo, ang promise natin magbabayad tayo ng 9% for 10 years. Tapos semi-annual siya. So kung 10 years yan, semi-annual, ibig sabihin, frequency 2. So dapat, ano to? Dapat, bakit 10 lang to? So dapat lagay ko ito example na to ginawang annual. Okay, just to simplify na lang the example, I'll just make it annual para ito na yung drawing. Okay, ito yung drawing natin. Annual yung frequency. So ito yung time, ito yung timeline ng band natin. Magbabayad tayo ng 90. Saan nanggaling yung 90? Saan nanggaling yung 90? Yung face ng band is 1,000. Ibig sabihin, ito yung IOU natin, ito yung inutang natin. Okay, inutang natin yung 1,000, pero ang price niya 945. Ibig sabihin, nangutang tayo, nag-promise tayo, sige magbabayad ako ng 1,000 after 10 years. Tapos bibigyan pa kita ng interest ng 9% every year. Tapos ang bigay mo lang sa akin 945. Kuha nyo? So this is a bond selling at a discount. Discounted siya kasi ibinigay lang sa'yo 945. Okay? Pero babayaran mo siya ng 1,000. Okay? Kailan nangyayari to? Nangyayari to kung depende sa market siya. No? Kung yung market mababa yung interest rate, then mapipilitan ka na magbenta at a kung mataas yung interest rate, no? Mapipilitan ka magbenta at a discount kasi baka hindi kagatin yung binebenta mong bond. Kasi pag nagbebenta ka ng bond, ibig sabihin nangungutang ka. Kasi yung bond parang yan IOU yan. Kasi mangungutang ako, ito yung document. Itong bond na to, ang nakalagay dyan yung face value at saka yung interest. So magkano yung face value? 1,000. Ano ibig sabihin ng face value? Yun yung babayaran natin after the term of the bond, which is 10 years. Okay? So, kunyari, nag-issue ako sa iyo ng bond, ibig sabihin, nangutang ako sa iyo, okay? Magkano yung babayaran ko after 10 years? 1,000. Kasi yun yung face ng bond. Okay? Kailan ko siya babayaran? After 10 years. Pero aside from that, magbabayad ako sa iyo ng 9% na interest. So, 9% ng 1,000, that's 90. Okay? So ito yung nangyari doon, no? Nakatanggap ako ng 945. Okay? Tapos, magbabayad ako sa iyo ng 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, hanggang 10 years. At the end of the 10 years, ang babayaran ko sa iyo, 1,090. Ba't naging 1,090? Bakit 1,090?
1,000 plus 90, sir.
Oo, kasi at the end of 10 years, babayaran natin yung 1,000 plus yung 90 pa na interest. So ito yung cash flow na yun. So makukuha natin yung rate nito. Magkano yung rate? Okay? Magkano yung cost of debt nito? Yun ang rate kasi ng bond na to eh. So magagamit natin guys si rate function. Yung natutunan natin kay Excel. Sige. Is equal to rate. Rate. Ilang periods natin?
10.
10, no? 10. Okay, kama. Okay. May PMT ba? May annuity? Meron, di ba? Ano yung annuity natin? 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. Di ba annuity yan, right? Tama?
Yes, sir.
90. So, ano yan? Negative or positive? Dito magagamit talaga yung negative at saka positive. Negative, ano? Negative 90, lagay ko dito, negative 90. Okay? Kama. Present value. Ano yung present value? Nangutang tayo. Magkano binigay sa atin?
945.
945. So ito yung present value natin. Positive siya. Kasi inflow yan eh.
Yes.
Right? Tapos kama. May future value pa ba? Oo, may isang bukod tangi dun sa dulo. May babayaran tayo. Na magkano?
1,090.
Yung 1,000, di ba? Yung face, di ba?
Okay. Yung face.
Right? Yung face. So, positive yung negative. Negative. Negative siya. Negative 1,000. Okay. So, yung type, hindi natin kailangan kasi Annuity ordinary naman to. Okay? Guess, hindi na kailangan. Okay, so take a look at this. So, okay. Ito, yung NPER, that's 10 years. PMT is negative 90 kasi palabas yung pera. Present value is magkakaroon tayo ng 945 ngayon. And then future value is magbabayad tayo ng 1,000. Okay? Negative siya kasi payment siya. Therefore, ang cost of debt natin is 9.89. Okay? Ito, wait, ha? Rate. Gayahin natin dito. Sorry. Gawin natin dito. Equal to rate. Tapos, NPER natin is 10. Generalize natin. 10 times 1. Para kung magbago yan, kunyari, semi-annual, magiging 10 times 2. Present value is positive siya, 945. Sorry, PMT pa pala muna. PMT is, ano yung PMT natin? PMT is 9% times this. And then divided by yung frequency. Kasi remember kung semi-annual siya, 9% divided by 2 yan. I'm just generalizing so that pag mabago yung any value here, magbabago yung natin, yung rate natin. Kama, present value is what? PMT is negative pala. Negative to kasi palabas yung pera. Present value is positive 945, tama? Okay? Tapos mali pa pala to. No? Kasi, okay, may flotation cost pa tayo. Ibig sabihin, hindi natin makukuha lahat ng 945 na to. May flotation cost. No? Yung flotation cost is, ibabayad natin yan dun sa, sa agent, yung mga financing institutions na magbebenta ng bond for us. Okay? May tawag sila dyan, yung syndicate, no? Kasi hindi tayo gagawa niyan. Usually, ang gumagawa niyan yung mga financing institutions na nag-specialize into selling of bonds. So yung ano natin, kaya medyo complicated tong problem na to, yung present value natin is not 945, but 945 times 1 minus, iawas natin yung 2% na commission ng agent. No? Okay, so may bawas yung ano natin, yung present value. Hindi natin makukuha itong 945. May less yan. Cha-charge tayo cha-charge tayo ng 2% ng syndicate or ng bank or ng financing institution na i-issue ng bond para sa atin. And then lastly is your future value. Your future value will be paying minus 1,000. 1,000 talaga yan kasi yan ang face ng bond. Okay? So ang rate natin will be 10.21%. Yan ang rate natin. Okay, this is the cost of this bond. Ito daw yung long-term bonds natin, long-term debt. Ang cost niyan, so kailangan natin dito yung cash flow natin, kailangan natin para makuha natin yung rate natin or your cost of debt o yung, ang tawag dyan, yield to maturity. Okay. Now, si debt, kailangan niya ng ibawas yung tax. Remember sa formula ko kanina dito? Ito, no? Lagi si debt, binabawas yung tax rate. Bakit siya binabawas yung tax rate? Kasi nagkakaroon ng tax savings, no? Nagkakaroon ng tax savings pag gumagamit tayo ng debt. In other words, pag may debt ka, may interest expense ka, mababawasan yung taxable income mo. So you have tax savings because of debt. So nababawasan yung cost niyo. Okay, so this one is whatever your yield to maturity is less yung tax rate natin. So this is now your case sub D. Ito na yung after-tax cost of debt. Ito na yung gagamitin natin dyan for this one. Ito na yun. Ito yung buong to.
Okay.
Ayan. Okay? And then we go to tapos yung cost of debt. Ito naman, si preferred. Okay, si preferred equity, madali lang yung ano niyan, yung formula. Ito lang. Okay, itong si preferred. Ito. Okay natin ito. Okay. Si cost of preferred, K sub P, is equal to the dividends divided by the price minus the flotation cost. Kasi ang preferred stock, yung dividend niya, constant. Constant yung dividend niya. Pag preferred kasi, hindi nagbabago yung dividends niya, constant lang per year. So that's why dito ang sinasabi lang, 11 lang. Ang face ng preferred natin, 11, 100, tapos ang price niya ngayon is 125. So we need this, as my flotation cost din, ito yung formula ng cost of preferred stock. So cost ng preferred stock is equal to the dividend, which is 11, divided by the price now, which is 125, minus the face value. Yan. And then, syempre, yung price, again, yung price, hindi naman natin lahat makukuha to. Babawasan natin yan ng flotation cost. Okay? So, let's do this. Is equal to D sub P is the dividend divided by, okay, ano yung price na? Ang price na is 125. Kaso, kailangan i-net natin yan, i-minus natin yung, you have to net that against yung flotation cost. Okay. Kung ano man ang amount na matatanggap natin, babawasin natin si flotation cost. Okay. So the price, okay, minus the face value. Ito pa pala. Yan. This one is your price. Price. Nineto natin against the flotation cost. So we're not going to receive 125, rather we're going to receive 121.25. Kasi may flotation cost tayo. Again, nung inisyo itong preferred na to, okay, it cost the company 3%. Yan. So our cost of preferred stock is, sorry, mali yung formula ko. It's not the face value, but the, sorry, mali ito. Okay. It's the price minus the flotation cost. So magkano yung price niya? The face value has nothing to do with the cost of equity, preferred stock. Price niya, babawasan natin ng 3% for the flotation cost. So that's 1 minus 3%. So 97% lang ng 125 yung price. I-divide natin with the dividend. Yan. So that's 9.07. Okay? So meron na tayong cost of preferred stock. Okay, last is the cost of cost of equity. Yun na lang. So sa cost of equity, medyo yung formula niya mas complicated ng konti lang kaysa kay cost of preferred stock. Okay. Ito naman yung cost of equity. So again, it will be based on the dividend. Okay? So take note, dividend D1 means yung dividend after year 1 at the end of the current period divided by the price now plus your growth rate. Okay? So ito yung formula niya. D1 divided by the price now plus the growth rate. Okay? Kasi pwede ibigay kunyari dividend ngayon. Kunyari ang dividend ngayon, example lang kunyari ang dividend now is 1.5. Example lang. Tapos ang growth rate, kunyari, it increases by 5%. So I just want to explain this formula. Yung D1 na yan, it will be the dividend for the next year. D1. Okay, so If the dividend now is 1.5, then it's expected to grow by 1.5 by 5%. Therefore, the D1 is equal to 1.5 times yung growth rate niya na growth rate niya na 5%. So, dapat ito yung gagamitin, no? Na dividend at 1. So, that's your D1. Divided by the price now. P sub 0 is the price at year 0 plus the growth rate. Okay, so dito, okay, ang binigay sa atin D1. Okay, but had this been, okay, 1.25, gawin ko divided by so, ang ibig sabihin nito, ay, mali. So, this is 100%. Grow namin. X times 1. Dapat. Sorry, mali ang answer. Okay. Ang D sub 0 natin is 1.17. So, minsan ang binibigay ito. Pero hindi ito dapat gamitin. Ang gagamitin mo dapat yung D1. So, you have to let this grow by 1.17 times 1 plus the 7% to make it into D1 ito yun. It depends kung ano yung given sa na problem. So, may price tayo, may flotation rate. Okay. Therefore, ito dalawang pinapakita dito. Cost of retained earnings. Ang kaibahan ng cost of retained earnings sa cost of new common equity, ang cost of retained earnings, walang flotation cost. Kasi nasa company na yung funds na yun. So, hindi na sila mag-i-issue ng bagong stock. So, wala nang flotation cost yun. Yung cost of new common equity, may flotation cost. Okay, so let's compute for the cost of retained earnings. Ganun din yung formula. Okay, tingnan natin ha. D1 natin is, ito ang ginamit, itong 1.25. No? Kasi D1 na yan eh. Pag D0 ang binigay, so dapat 1.17 times 7%. So D1 divided by the price, what's the price? Ito, this is the price plus the growth rate of G. So ito lang, simple yung formula. Yan. Following this, D1 divided by the price plus the growth rate. So that's your cost of retained earnings. Ang cost of common equity naman, ito yung medyo naiiba. No? Okay. So paano to? Ganun din, D1 over the price. Yung price ngayon, ininet natin against the flotation cost. Ang price kasi 41.5, pero hindi lahat siya na makukuha ng company. No? Mababawasan siya ng 8%. Therefore, tingnan natin to. Ang net lang yan, 38.18. Hindi yung 41.5. Okay? And then plus the growth rate of G. So, sinundan lang natin itong formula na to. Yan. Okay, so we have now yung mga cost natin. Ito yung cost of debt natin. After tax cost of debt, no? Ito yung before tax. Ito na yung cost of preferred stock natin. And then ito na yung cost of equity natin. Depende kung with retained earnings or with new common equity. Okay, so ito, computin natin yung WACC. Sa balance sheet natin, meron tayong common equity na shares 240,000, si preferred 2,500, tapos si debt 3,100. Ang market value nito, okay, how do we compute for the market value? Market value will be, okay, kung ilan yung common shares natin divided by yung price niya. Magkano ba yung price ni common? Ito. Ang price niya is 41.5. Yan ang price ng share. So that's the market value. Si ano naman, si preferred, number of units multiplied by, ilan yung price na? 125. Tapos si debt, 3,101 bonds multiplied by the price of 945. Okay. Yun yung mga market value nila, no, based on the current price. Si book value naman, given siya. Ngayon, makukuha na natin yung book value weights at saka market value weights. Itong weights na to, kinukuha lang natin yung weight ng bawat isa in terms of the total. So for example, si book value weight ni common stock will be the book value of the common stock divided by the total. So percent lang to. So we know of course that this is 100%. Si market value weights naman, based natin sa market value ng prices nila. Okay, so it's 9960 divided by, tinotal lang natin. Okay. So 75.44, 2.37 kasi 312 out of the total, 22.19% kasi 29 out of the total. So if we add this, 100% din yan. Okay? So saan gagamitin to? Ito na yung mga W natin. Bakit natin kailangan W? Ito. Yan. Weights times the cost. So meron tayong mga weights, meron tayong mga cost, makukompute na natin si WACC natin. So that's how you compute for the weighted average cost of capital. So going back to our exercise. So this is your WACC. If we use the retained earnings, ito yung gagamitin natin na cost of equity. If we use the new common equity, ito yung gagamitin natin na KS, cost of common equity. Okay, so ganito na to, no? So this is equal to, ano ulit yung wiki natin? Sulat ko lang dito. Tama-tama, patapos na yung time natin, no? Eksakto tayo. So summation ng wiki. Okay, so this is weight ng debt times cost ng debt times 1 minus tax lagi, no? Plus weight ng preferred times the cost of preferred stock plus the weight ng common multiplied by cost of common. Okay, all of those we have already, guys. All of those we have already. So we can easily compute this. Magdidepende na lang kung anong cost of common yung gagamitin natin. Kung retained earnings or new common equity. Usually ginagamit yung new common equity. Okay, so sige, yun natin to ha. This is equal to, ano ba yung weight of debt natin? Weight of debt is ito, no? This one. Times the cost of debt. What's our cost of debt? This is our cost of debt. Ito. Pero times 1 minus tax rate dapat. 1 minus tax rate. Which is this one. Pwede ko na sanang diniretso dito, no? Sa 7.15. Kaso pinakita ko lang sa inyo. So that's your contribution ng cost of debt. Then plus yung contribution ni preferred. So that's the weight of the preferred multiplied by the cost of the preferred. Compute natin dito si cost ng preferred. Yan. Alright? Plus weight ng common, this one, times cost ng common. If you're going to use the retained earnings, ito yun. Mas mahal ko yung common equity than 127. There. Yun. Yan na. Ito na yung WACC natin. And usually ito yung ginagamit. So kunyari, ito yung company na ini-evaluate natin kanina. Ang gagamitin natin na WACC ito, 9.55%. Yun. That's it. Hello?
Yay!
Ang galing niya naman, grabe. Yung isang term na, actually pang master's din na, ang isa.
Kaya nga, sir, para kami nag-MBA.
Oo nga. Mini MBA. Yan.
Ang galing.
Okay. So, I think that wraps up the mentoring. I hope you learned something. Huh?
Yes po, thank you.
Oo, pag may mga still questions, okay lang ha, you can feedback me, you can PM me tapos ano.
Sir, abalahin kita sa mga questions ko
Of course, go ahead. Magtatampo ako kung hindi ka mag-question.
Sige, sir.
Okay, ang kailangan ko lang support, Teddy, papadala ko yung document na kailangan i-sign, ilalagay ko lang yung dates doon na nag-mentoring tayo. Tapos
Okay.
kung sino man magsasign, hindi ko alam kung sino magsasign sa inyo. Papasign ko na lang, ha?
Ako po.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Ako po
Oo.
yung
Ikaw naman pala. Sige. Okay, no more questions, ladies?
No more. Sobra. Grabe.
Ay,
Thank
salamat.
you,
Would you
sir.
want me to send this, yung ano?
Yes po.
Sige,
Yes
send
po.
ko na lang din to, no?
Sir,
Yung
tsaka
may-
yung recording po, ha?
Yeah, syempre yung recording. Oo, of course.
Yay.
Alright. Ito, isan ko na kagad siya ito, Teddy, after this. And then recording, mamaya pa kasi
Sige.
ano pa ni Zoom yun, no?
Apo.
Okay, sige. Salamat.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you po.
Maraming salamat. It was a pleasure mentoring with you in this journey, no?
Yes, sir.
Hope you learned something. And again, kung may ano pa kayo, kung kailangan nyo pa ng support beyond this, okay lang, no problem, no?
Thank you po.
Anyway, sabi ko nga kay Teddy, anyway, friends naman kami, although she doesn't consider me as a friend. Pero friend ko siya, pero siya hindi niya ako friend.
Sir.
Oh. Salamat, ladies. Thank you for this time. Thank you for coming. And just keep in touch, ha?
Opo.
Okay, sige. Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Bye po.
Happy lunch.
Happy lunch
Thank you, everyone.
po.
Thank you.
Bye po.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.